Ladies and gentlemen, you are now tuned in to Disarranged Talk Show. Joining you live from Be More on the D, your hosts, Andrew and Matt. Please like, subscribe, and comment.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Disarranged Talk Show. I am your host, Andrew. Tonight, we're going to be doing a solo mission. Matt will not be joining us. He's doing his inventory for his physical year. So it looks like it's just going to be you, me, and everybody on the internet. So again, episode number 41. Thank you for joining us. We're going to do a little bit of housekeeping, let you know what's going on in our world. So thank you for joining us. Wanted to give a little update on October 13th. We're going to be having a special show. It's not going to be on the typical Friday like we do every week. It's going to actually be on October 13th, Thursday, one day off Friday the 13th. So what we're going to have is we're going to have a United States Marine Corps veteran who happens to be a sexual assault victim while serving an active duty in the United States Marine Corps. The name and show dates will be released at another time. Stay tuned and go check out our channel for all that information coming down the pipe. Also, next month we'll be having who is author of I Am Fit. Amazon, like this one, having reading it. Part recipient and a medical retired to the U.S. Army. We served in Iraq in the 10th Mountain Division. Graduated military with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. After serving previous service, I encourage veterans, veterans alike to stand by and look for that episode, looking at that episode, checking out I Am Fit. Also, we are still here at the game. We're still looking for social media coordinator, somebody that is a little bit driven, wants to help out a good cause, donate for 3 to 5 hours a week to help Matt and I with our social media journey. And but anyways, we're gonna keep rocking and rolling. So let's see what else we got on the docket tonight. I wanted to check in on everybody to see how you are doing and see how everybody's week went. I had a really long week of work. It was pretty grueling. We got a new CRM system. I don't know if anybody's ever really messed with the CRM system, but it's really, really good to keep you organized while working. So did all that this week. And the thing is, I'm not really like a good logger when it comes to putting data in and doing a bunch of different steps just to get to one step. I'm like a write it on a piece of paper, fly by night kind of guy. So it's been a little bit difficult, but I can see like the value of it going forward, keeping me on task because I kind of like, oh, bird, and I'll just get distracted. So anyways, long week of work. How are you guys doing? I do appreciate you guys being here, but I also wanted to give a shout out. Excuse me while I click through everything. Usually Matt's here to help me. I wanted to give a shout out to my main man, Bryson Pajak. I know he's down in North Carolina watching right now, and he's with a good buddy of mine, Mr. Tully, Nick Tullyfern. I hope I pronounced that right. But I know you guys have heard me talk about him in the past. He is actually a Marine that started walking from the West Coast and is on his journey across the country to head to DC for November 8th. I found this guy online months ago before he started his journey, and I saw that he was going to be starting, and kind of gave a little backstory. And if you check out our Facebook page, you'll be able to see his story and GoFundMe. So we're able to show a little bit of support. And I just go encourage you, even if you're not going to donate, to go listen to his story. I mean, the kid's living the dream right now, to be honest with you. But so I know you guys have seen me share this in the past. This is his Cash App. If you got $1 or $2, and you want to help support a United States Marine Corps veteran walking across the country, that'd be gratefully appreciated. And the cool update is he's on the East Coast, everybody. And matter of fact, he's with my mother and my dad down in North Carolina right now, just north of Raleigh. He made the trek. I saw his update. If you check him out on Facebook, he was a few miles away from Raleigh. I contacted my family and I was like, "We've got to help. We got to get him some food. We got to get him some chow. Food and chow. Get him some shelter. Get him a shower." And he's been there for a couple days, so I know he's down there watching. Tully, I'm glad you're here with us. I'm happy for you to be a part of our network. I'm looking forward to introducing you to a lot of the Romeo guys on here listening tonight. I think you're going to fit right in, and I think a lot of your wisdom that you've learned the past 8 months of traveling across the country with a backpack and meeting America's people would do us well. So I'm really looking forward to you being a part of our group, and you're part of the family. So Tully and Bryson, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Everybody else in my family that's watching, I appreciate you too. Um, so moving on, I wanted to kind of dip back into last week. I know we talked about the immigration stuff. Now, I went back, I did a little bit more research. I really wanted to weigh in last week, but I needed a little bit more time to think about the approach on how I wanted to talk about it. And when I learned Matt wasn't going to be on here tonight, I was like, well, I guess this is a better time than ever to touch on it one more time. So let's just recap. We have states that are sending immigrants that are from bordering states to non-bordering states because whether it's a political move, their immigration laws, whether it's they're doing the right thing. However, that's what's going on right now. They're going by buses, they're going by flights, and they're landing in these cities that are non-border cities. Okay, so there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of debate about it. I'm gonna give you my point of view. I'm gonna give you a little bit of insight of where I think that I don't know. I don't think it's right. I think I get the idea, but I just at the end of the day, I think we've got two issues at hand. Obviously, we have a border issue. Obviously, we have a border crisis, but we also have a social issue, and it's a humanitarian issue. To be, in my opinion. Now, I'd like to know what you say in the comments, even though I'm not going to really be able to see them because I don't really have the time to look at them. But I'll read them later. Um, so okay, let's just ask. Let's look at this. They show up on plane and they show up by bus. Doors open. They get out. Where do they go? Let's just take your family for instance and say you guys were traveling like this, and this was the situation. Doors are open. You get out. Where do you go? Well, some people say, well, they don't have resources and this, that, and the other. Some people say they do have resources and they'll be fully taken care of. Neither are right. Neither are wrong, I guess. A lot of these what a lot of people don't understand reading into this is a lot of these services there are services that these individuals, these immigrants do receive upon arrival to these states. A lot of these though, if we went and looked them up, and I've got a couple links here um, I'm going to share in the description below, and you'll be able to go and see the type of services that these people, immigrants, are offered upon arriving to said location. A lot of these are called, like SSI, supplement security income, supplement nutrition assistance programs, temporary assistance for needy families, and the list goes on. CHIP, children's insurance programs, Medicare. Anybody that can goes into the emergency room right now with no insurance is going to get Medicare. Okay. And then also you can read on this website too, where like what qualifies as an immigrant. And I think a lot of people that are in this discussion and argument probably should read into this and look into that because a lot of them, oh, these illegal immigrants, well, technically they're not illegal. And they've already been accepted. They're going through the channels. They're going through the proper laws. Are they actually citizens? No, but they're technically not illegal. So that's a whole other topic. But I'd encourage you to go on to what is this? This is NILC.org. Go ahead, you can check into it. It's the National Immigrant Law Center. It breaks it all down. Um, but interestingly enough, okay, so they get off the bus. There are services that are going to be provided to some people for people. A lot of these are temporary services provided that are funded maybe by the government or have government assistance. So when people say, "Oh, they're going to be the government's going to take care of them," well, you're not wrong, but you're also not right because what's going to happen is they get off the bus or plane. They go into one .org or a nonprofit organization, and they're there to accept them, to give them clothing, to give them the necessities they need for right then, food, water, shelter, and maybe a map. And then that's what that program does. That nonprofit organization does. Then they move on. So then they get shipped to the other side. And now maybe the next one is just for housing, and maybe the housing is a little bit longer than just a meet and greet. How you doing? Here's a map. Here's a PB&J and out the back door. Okay. Maybe the next NPO is it's a housing nonprofit that houses not immigrants or human beings in need that would go through like a social services or something like that. Okay, so now they're good for say 10 days, and that's probably pushing it, to be honest with you. It's probably pushing it. So let's say they're good for 10 days. So then within that 10 days, those families, now imagine if this was you uprooting your family, and if there's got families out there that ever traveled with kids, I would imagine imagine having everyone uprooted. And then when you finally get to calm down and finally get to relax from probably traveling for months on end, you then have to realize, one, I don't know the language. I have no idea what to do, and after 10 days, I'm out. I have to fend for myself, and that's something that I promise a lot of people watching probably have never experienced or even seen. A lot of them are confused. They don't understand that they're being used in political movements. Regardless of your political stance or who you are, like, these people are human beings. And I know this isn't a popular belief, and there's all the hardcore right patriots are gonna, say that I'm non-patriot because of maybe the way I feel about the immigration. It's listen, I think we should have walls. I think we should have higher security on our borders. But I also think people shouldn't be used as pawns. I don't think people should be used as um, political toys. Um, I mean, and I know we all are in a sense, but we're broadcasting it. People are thinking it's funny. I mean, I guess the other side of me, the sick side of me, I can kind of see a little humor in it. But again, we're dealing with a bigger issue. This is a social issue, and this is a humanitarian issue, along with the immigration issue as a whole. But we just got to look back. We got to look in the mirror and realize that these guys, these women, these children, these men are literally fleeing their countries to try to have a better freaking life. And what do we do to try to have a better life? I don't know, maybe go on a vacation, put in some PTO, and make sure that we get paid for it, and go, to our all inclusive clubs and bars and ships and clubs, and that's how we get away. We don't spend months on the road. We don't spend, um, we don't see our families persecuted. We don't see our families literally being killed in front of us. I just think we got to be very grateful for the fact that none of us are having to do this. But it's also not a joke. These are human beings. I can tell you a quick story about myself if you're gonna. Since tonight being that I don't have Matt here with me, it'd be a good opportunity for everyone listening, watching now or later, to understand and learn a little bit about myself. When I was 15, I came home from school one day and I told my mother that I needed $1,500, that I was going to Nicaragua. My mom says, "Why the," before I told her I was going to Nicaragua, she goes, "Why the hell do you need $1,500?" Here I am, 15 years old. I think I'm ninth grade, just transferred to a private Catholic school, and I said, "Listen, I need 1,500 bucks. I want to go to Nicaragua. I want to build houses, and I want to, help out the unfortunate." And so I don't know how a mom could never say no to that. So she said, yes, all right, let's do it. So great. The program allowed payment. So every like quarter or whatever, we had to give X amount of dollars to the payments and go to meetings. And so that's what started my journey um, into I don't know, I guess my journey of traveling and seeing other countries and really how bad things can be, right? So for those of you who don't know, Nicaragua is a third world country. Um, so there I am, 15, landed in Managua. We catch a bus from Managua, which is the capital, to a little village called Chiclistagua. It's a little village outside of Managua, up in the hills. And I remember getting on a school bus, normal school bus, like I had seen, maybe 10 hours earlier, flying out of New York. And as we're driving, yeah, I can definitely tell. Now I'm 15. I can definitely tell that this the area is poor. It's dirty. It's smelly. It's dusty. There's either really nice cars on the road or there's really shitty cars on the road. Every nice building that we take for granted that we walk into every day was gated up with armed guards with automatic machine guns. 15 years old, coming from a small town. What the hell's going on here? Um, so I remember as we're coming in, it was nighttime. Everyone was tired, and I remember my face was just glued to the window, and I looked out. We stopped at a stoplight. They had them, and there was this little girl on the side of the road, and little girl had to have been 4, maybe 5 years old. She's standing there. She had a little dress on, no shoes, dirty as can be, raggedy hair, and I remember her. She looked right up at me. I was 15 years old. Looked right up at me, and she didn't have to say a word. I know what she was asking. And at that very moment, I sat back for a minute and I was like, "Holy shit!" I was like, I have I have 2 sisters back home, you know, that aren't too far away from that age, several years older, but I mean, not too long ago, they were that age, they were that little. Man, like, and I'm looking around, like, where are the parents? Where's someone that's responsible for this child? And no one was around, all right? Now, I'll be real with you. Fast forward to now, if I would see that, I would've picked the kid up, and if I was next to a border, would've tossed her over. It's, now again, 15 years old, I saw that and I remember that. And I just to this day, I think about it. Sometimes I'll dream about it, but it was something that's been seared in my mind, and I just couldn't imagine being a family in those situations and knowing that X amount of miles north of you is a possibility that if you make it, which is even slimmer chance that there's happiness, there's the pursuit of happiness and the chance of freedom. That's incredible. Again, I think we have bigger issues at hand, our immigration issues, and humanitarian. People shouldn't be used as as political pawns to make points, political points. Those rich, if I could speak to all those rich governors and senators or whoever the hell's doing all this shit, go try to spend a couple days with your family traveling with no communication, go to a different country with no language, no cell phone, no nothing, and quickly realize and learn how privileged you actually are to make that decision to go and send people and use them for your own good or your own benefit when you think you're trying to make a point. Why don't you get on the why you should have been on the plane with them, my opinion. Should have been on the bus with them. You should have been sitting in the front seat. If you want to make a point, get them to their destination safe, make sure they're being taken care of. Don't send your fucking goons to go do it. I don't agree with that. Leaders lead from the front, not from the rear. You should have been on that bus. I would have respected every move you made if you were on that bus or on that plane and brought them to these cities and said, we need to figure something out because our city and our state on this border cannot handle this. We sit here and beat on people about talking and opening up and communicating when where's the communication here? I don't see any. I wish that it would change, but it's not going to, unfortunately. It's going to continue happening, especially nowadays with social media and people doing everything for a view and a like and attention. Unfortunately, that's just the shit we live in, and it sucks. So, anyways, I can get off my soapbox on that. This bothers me. I'd really like to know what you guys think. So, if you could let me know in the comments, we're going to take a couple more minutes here, and I'll go ahead and check them out, see what you guys think. We've got a great guest coming on here in a few minutes. Looking forward to it. Erik Goode, great guy. Served with him in the Marine Corps. He's got one hell of a story, and I hope a lot of you guys you know, may have served with him. And sorry, I'm reading some comments. You guys served with him, may have gotten separated at some point, so it's going to be great to see him tonight. He's great guy, and he's going to give us some financial advice. So our goal tonight with having him on is to start tackling some of the issues when you separate that you might go through. So like I know when I got out, I'll tell you guys another story after about my financial journey. It was not it's just as interesting and just as painful as probably the last one, but it's just the fact of the reality. It's the truth of the reality, and you know, I finally got through it. So I thought it'd be nice to have somebody come on that's like pretty savvy in the finance world and can give us veterans, civilians, whoever, um, the chance to maybe hear something you didn't know about finances that could help you out. I know no matter what he tells me tonight, definitely going to learn something. Actually, I'll get into the story now while we got some time. Let me get a little sip here. I've been running my suck. Hey, what's going on, McDonough? Tully, who else we got in here? Josh, what's going on, Reyes? How you doing, brother? Good job on all the fitness stuff. I'm proud of you, man. Nate, what's going on, my friend? Thanks for joining us. Eric is the man. Can't wait till you have it on. Thanks for showing up. Um, yeah, and thanks for everybody else that's joined in with us and watching. But so let's say, can you guys tell me when you guys remember swiping your first credit card? Because I can. Tell you who I was with. I could tell you the ish area I was at the first time. I remember. Oh, it was so nice. It's a great night. I was 21 years old. There I was, young, dumb, full of cum. I got a bad look for that one. Um, my buddies were like, "Hey, let's go out," and I'm like, "Yeah, dude, like let's go out." Now, mind you, earlier that day, I opened up a bank with who was it? It was Bank of America. Bank of America at the time was like, "Dude, we're gonna give you $1,000 credit card," and I was like, You're gonna give me $1,000 credit line?" I'm like, "That's cool, but it's for emergencies." That's what my parents told me. Fast forward a few hours, we go out that night. Drinks are flowing. We're having a good time. Music's bumping. The end of the night comes. We're at the bar trying to pay our tabs, and my buddies are like, "Oh, dude, I forgot my wallet." At this very moment, ladies and gentlemen, was the time that I probably spent about 15 years in debt from this time forward. I said, "Don't worry, boys. I got it." Swipe. I think that tab that night was $120, and I remember thinking, "Wow, $100 on booze." Now, I've since cleared those numbers. I've I've since times those numbers by a lot. But ever since that moment, I have been in some sort of negative credit debt. Up until 2 months ago, I'm completely credit card debt free. So what's that? 15 years? 14, 15 years? It's a lot of years. It's in the teens. It's a lot of years to not be financially stable and living paycheck to paycheck. So, with that being said, I thought it'd be nice to start a little program or a little segment where we have Erik come on as as our financial advisor, if you will, and kick it to us some knowledge. We're going to start basic tonight with some financial know-how, some financial literacy, and then from there, we're going to try to start building, and then hopefully he can share the importance of why No matter what your age is, you should be investing. You should be trying to save. And honestly, you really do have to have somebody you can trust and that can guide you in the right direction. So I'm going to get ready here to see if he's going to come on. What I want to do is I'm going to take a quick commercial break, and I'm going to see you guys in 22 seconds. Give a shout out to the Neptunes boys for their sponsorship and their commitment to Disarranged. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be where we are. So if you are listening to this right now and you are in the Baltimore area, this is a live coupon call. If you mention episode number 41 to Dan and his crew over at Neptunes Plumbing and Heating, you will receive a discount. But the thing is, you have to tell them before the service, and then upon your bill, you will see it reflected. Again, mention this episode number 41 to Dan and his crew of Neptunes and Plumbing and Heating to receive a $50 off any plumbing service, but does not include diagnostics. And also, you'll get a $75 off your boiler repair and or install, and that is only for products bought and paid through Neptune. So give Dan and crew a call at 410-776-5864. We appreciate your sponsorship very, very, very much. It's been fun working with these guys, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. So tonight, as we move on and move a little forward into the show, I wanted to start talking about our guest for tonight. I started mentioning him a little bit. He's a veteran brother. We served together for man, it was only honestly a few months, and then we kind of got separated, and one went to one unit and one stayed. So again, I thought it would be really, really nice for him to come on. I was hoping that some of the Romeo boys on here would hop on and see an old veteran buddy, but also to provide some insight and knowledge in the financial world. So let's gonna get him in there.
Tonight's guest.
Tonight we have Erik Goode. He is the owner and operator of uVest Advisory Group. He's a United States Marine Corps veteran, and we are happy to have him on. And ladies and gentlemen, if you could put your hands together for Erik Goode. What's going on, my friend? How you doing?
What's going on, Andrew? Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it. I love the applause. It's a nice touch.
Yeah, so what you can't see is I've got about 300 people on the other side of this screen just really screaming, rooting you on right now. So
Right on, man. Well, I'll try not to mess up then. I'll try to be on my best behavior tonight.
You'll be good, brother. So how are you? How was your day, man?
Hey, I've been doing good, man. Today was good. It was a nice. I've made a point here recently to take Fridays easy. Okay. You know, I think it's really important that when you're working on something for a long time, that you treat it like a marathon and not a sprint. So this year, I think, I don't know, maybe like the second quarter, I said, you know what? I'm not going to kill myself every week. I'm going to take Friday and I'm gonna do me. So I relax, I work out, I read, I do me. So that's Good. What I did today.
That's awesome. So my boss has kind of the same. So there's one or two people in my sales team. It's my boss and me, and then it goes president and then owner. So it's a pretty tight knit group. But I remember when I was onboarding, he was like, "Listen, Mondays and Fridays, brother." He's like, "Don't pack your Mondays." He's like, "You want to coming off the weekend and then jump into 16 meetings."
Yeah.
He goes, and then you also don't want to wake up on a Friday, plan your weekend, and then have to have all this work to input and log to set up for next week over the weekend. He's like, so give those days to like work and kind of relax and get into the swing of things. So
That's
I
really
like.
good advice. In fact, I think I read about something similar in Cal Newport's Deep Work. It's a book. It's like it's about getting in the zone and getting good work done. And I think he has a similar system where he has these buffer days built into it. I might be misremembering that, but I know I read that somewhere.
Well, my boss's name is Cal. I don't know if that's a coincidence.
Maybe it's him. Maybe is he also an author and a PhD? Maybe.
Well, listen. I think we're
work?
uncovering some grimy stuff here. I'm gonna confront him if he's not watching. I'm gonna figure it out. Hey, man, are you copyrighted or what?
Yeah.
So listen, Erik, I just wanted to first off, again, thank you for joining us with us, man. I know time is valuable and with family and kids and work and everything, we really appreciate it. But if you could just share a little bit about who, what, where, why, when, like who you are, where you come from, and kind of what led you to join the Marine Corps.
Yeah, that's really those are some good questions. So I'm Erik Goode. Of course, you've said that. We served together in Romeo Battery for a little while back in the day. I think it's been 13 or 14 years now.
Long time.
Yeah. So I'm from Southwest Indiana, Evansville, Indiana, actually, right on the border of Kentucky and Illinois. Is where I'm from, born and raised. That's where I'm at now with my wife and 2 little girls. I joined the Marine Corps right out of high school, believe it or not. I guess, most of us probably end up that way. I don't come from a long line of Marines or anything like that. I don't have any cool family heritage or anything like that. To be completely candid with you, Andrew, I was kind of low on options, and I found myself at a point when I was, I say this would have been the beginning of my senior year, December of 2006. So first semester of senior year in high school, a guy in Algebra 2 class, Mr. Hughes' Algebra 2 class. I'll never forget this guy, joined the delayed entry program. You remember the delayed entry program? And he joined the delayed entry program, and I thought, man, that's really cool. I'm going to join the delayed entry program. So that's exactly what I did. The recruiter didn't have to find me. I found the recruiter. I mean, I walked right into it, man. Within 2 weeks, I was signed up, ready to go. Turns out that guy didn't. He backed out. He never went. Yeah, I guess it's his loss, depending on how you look at it. But yeah, so that was I shipped off to boot camp in 2007, probably about similar time that you did.
I think I think you have a year on me. I think
a year. Okay.
I went in 2008, and you said, was it the end of 2007 you went in?
August 2007. Yep. August 2007.
6 months. We'll just say call it 6 months.
Yep. It was Parris Island. And then, of course, I was that long story short, that's how I ended up in the Marine Corps. I really just kind of, stumbled into it. Yeah. Yeah. Keep me on track here too, because I to be honest with you, I don't know how much time we have, so I'm gonna keep talking.
Listen, man, we're good, brother. There's no time.
Cool.
Just go ahead. It was a good conversation.
Cool. So I was a forward observer. So what's that? That's basically spotting and adjusting artillery fires. And so after boot camp, I went to good old Fort Sill, which many of us are familiar with. Many Romeo guys are familiar with in Oklahoma. Spent a couple months there. Went to San Diego. Spent a month there. Joined my unit, and we were off to the races.
Yep.
So we were doing a lot of training back then. I don't know if you remember, but we were in the field like every freaking week. It's just crazy to believe the tempo looking back, but that's kind of how I ended up in the Marine Corps. I was going to start to get into our deployment, but I think I'll hold off and let you riff on that for a little bit.
Well, yeah, no, that's I appreciate you sharing. It's always interesting to hear. I remember when I joined, one of the recruiters or my recruiter was like, one thing you're going to learn about the Marine Corps is it was something similar my grandfather had said, but he's like, basically he was like, man, you are going to meet so many different types of people. But the interesting thing about the Marine Corps is if you spend enough time with those people and you talk with them, no matter how the road comes, you're going to find a crossing point where your lives cross, right? Like where something is similar, where I can relate.
Oh, sure.
And I remember my grandfather saying, he's like, you're going to meet all walks of life. And so when I heard that come out of the recruiter's mouth, and he was like, but you're all similar. There's a similarity. You got to find it.
Right. There's all different shades of green, right? We're all a shade of green.
Yeah, we're all shade of green, and I always like that, man. And I like that as like as a humanitarian thing too. It's like,
oh yeah,
we're all very similar. I think we just let other things kind of fog that. So I guess within your military career, can you express some like couple life lessons that really helped mold you into kind of the man and professional you are today?
Yeah, well, I guess I'm gonna kind of walk through 2009, 2010, 11, 12, the rest of my military career before I talk into that, because really I think those are the instrumental years for me. So I get to 5th Battalion, 10th Marines, right? Of course, you were there as well. Good old Romeo Battery. Doing a lot of training, right? We were in Fort Bragg all the time. We were doing backyard field ops all the time. Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. We were going out to California all the time. Yep. And we finally, I think this was the beginning of 2009, we get orders to Afghanistan. I think we all kind of figured out we were going to Afghanistan around the same time. And by we all, I guess me and you, but the whole battalion and regiment. So it was a really big operation. I mean, I'm sure you remember, but there was just sort of a whole big ordeal, standing up a Marine Expeditionary Brigade, which is there's nothing to sneeze at. That's a big operation. I ended up leaving 510 at this point. I was attached to an infantry unit, 2nd Battalion, 8th Marines, Dos Ocho. Right. Love those guys. They're a great group of guys. And I did most of the work up with them. This is through 2009, and made a lot of good friends. The infantry is different than the artillery, Andrew. It's different. Those guys don't get promoted very fast, and they're not happy about that. There's a lot of pissed off Lance corporals that you gotta watch your step around, but you do. And I was like a boot corporal, because FOs get promoted so fast, and so but eventually I got really close with those guys, and I went over there with a couple radio operators who I'm still in touch with, another couple FOs, and a forward air controller that I got really close with, a captain, Zach Lehman was his name. And we trained together. We trained hard. It was a really good experience. We were excited. We were gung ho. It was. We wanted to get in the thick of it, so to speak, in the shit, as they say. Yeah. That's what we were ready for. And I think there is a time in your life for that kind of adventure. And 18, 19. I think at this point I was 19. No, I was 20. That was, a good time for that. So we deployed to Afghanistan in May of 2009, and it was hot. It was really hot. I'm sure you remember. We spent a little bit of time adjusting to the climate. But I'm not lying when I tell you it was like, from the moment we got to our area of operations, or AO, until the moment I was medevaced out of Afghanistan, it was nonstop, go, fight. It was my very first patrol. You remember significant dates just kind of throughout your life, right? Mm-hmm. It's something people generally remember as landmarks in their lives. And one of those significant dates for me is June 21st, 2009. Yep. June 21st, 2009 was my very first patrol in Afghanistan. And it was also my very first firefight in Afghanistan. It was a brutally hot day. It was it was kind of a weird moment where you hear those first rounds kind of crack, and you're like, you know, your first thought is like, okay, you just do the training thing, right? You just you automatically act, you just kind of go through the motions. And there's this like thought that pops in your head. You're like, oh shit, this isn't training. This is like real. That was real. That was really somebody trying to hurt me. You know, it's just a weird sort of surreal feeling. And that was it for 3 months. I was running and gunning with the guys of Dos Ocho. It was a lot of fun. Golf company. I say it was a lot of fun. It was miserable in a large degree. We were living in very austere conditions. You know, we're talking about 60-man patrol base. You know, our company had been split up into a couple patrol bases and patrolling every day.
Yeah,
that's what you did. You ate, you slept, you patrolled, you ate, slept, patrolled. Well, you stood post too. Okay, fire watch. Can't forget that.
Yeah.
And so I did that. August. So there was a lot of experiences on that deployment that sort of I spent a lot of time reflecting on. Of course, we lost a lot of guys. Took a lot of casualties in a really short period of time. It was strange the way it happened, but for a while there, we did really good, and nobody was getting hurt. We were engaged heavily, but nobody was getting hurt. And then it was just one after the other for about a month or two. And right about at the end of that, it was the end of August, is when I was finally hit. And I think that, if you don't mind, I think that deserves its own sort of breakout story.
Yeah.
I want you to keep me on track here, though, Andrew. I want you.
Listen, Eric, I want you to enjoy yourself and talk openly and freely, brother. It's
all right.
It's open. Whatever feels good, man.
Cool, man. All right. Well, so I was the FO, and I was the only company's FO. You know, we are a company level asset, and so as a company level asset, you get sold out a lot. You know, you get tasked out to a lot of different patrols, a lot of different squads. You know, you just kind of you're like a piece of duct tape. It's like, oh, put Gooch over there. It's like you know, it's just like, well, we only got the one FO, so we got to share him, kind of thing. You know, like the community water ball or something. And so that's what I did. And I was tired, man, like just real tired. But I was, you know, also. I really cared about patrolling because I felt like that was the most important part of my job, because, you know, it's hard to call for fire on a patrol base.
Right.
And so I was patrolling every day, staying and watch. And I remember we had the day before, or it might have been a couple days before, the enemy combatants in our AO had used this small footbridge to lay a command det IED. So they used this footbridge to lay a wire across this canal, this really deep canal. And it was a very long command det wire, because we patrolled in such a way that it would be very hard to, you know, we kind of had that as part of our tactics to preempt things like that from happening. Mm-hmm. So they would lay longer and longer command det wires to kind of avoid being snared in that net before they could set the IEDs off. So these guys had set up an IED at some point the night before or a few days before, and one of our patrols was coming back to base, just 700 yards from base. And one of my good buddies, Dennis Burrow, this was August 7th of 2009. So it's 10 days before I got hit. Knelt right down on top of that sucker, and sure enough, as soon as he did, they set it off. And he wasn't killed instantly, but he died later in surgery. But anyway,
sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough, man, because there was a lot of guys that were close with Burrow. But anyway, our mission was to figure out where these guys were coming from. So we first of all, we destroyed the footbridge so that couldn't happen again, which that was its own mission. And that resulted in another Marine being killed, 2 Marines actually being killed. And then finally came, I guess, I don't know, came my turn. And I'm probably recollecting this. I should pause and say this. My recollections are very, it's been 12 or 13 years now, right? Mm-hmm. And I was, suffered a pretty severe head injury. So I'm doing the best I can here. But
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Probably not the perfect. But in any case, we went out. I had to stand watch that night till like midnight, 2:00 in the morning or something like that. It was really late. And this patrol left at like 4:30. So I had like almost no sleep for that entire day. I was exhausted. It was actually one patrol where I was kind of like, hey, it'd be cool if I didn't go on this one. Because most patrols, I was like, put me in, coach, I want to do this. Or at least take me off post, something. I just wanted more sleep, really. But we went out and it was dark, and we left the main road. We went through cornfields. We're doing everything we can to stay off any sort of obvious path. Mm-hmm. Avoiding IEDs, right? You don't want to take an obvious path.
Right, of course.
And we get to a point on a canal that we have to cross. And there's really only one good spot to cross on this canal, which we're not going to cross at because, that's exactly where the IED is going to be, right?
Right.
And so we get into a Ranger file. We were getting into a Ranger file. I don't know if you guys had this, but we patrolled with Afghan National Army type guys, right? Mm-hmm. That was our.
Yeah, no, the only local nationals we had were any type of interpreters that were doing any patrolling with us.
Yeah,
I don't recall. I think maybe a couple times the AA, the Border Patrol or whatever.
Yeah,
I think they came out with us a couple times. But other than that, I think not. It wasn't normal.
Yeah. So we had like the ABP, Afghan Border Patrol, and ANA, Afghan Army with us.
Sorry, yep.
And they sucked, but in any case, they were there with us. It was their war. We were there to train them ostensibly. Excuse me. And so we get to this canal, and I remember my squad leader. His name was, at the time he was Sergeant Coacher. Now he's like Chief Warrant Officer, something or other, Coacher. I'm not sure where he's at right now, but Sergeant Coacher turns around and says, "Gooch, tell the guys to hold up, to stop." Just before this, he had told us to get in a Ranger file because we were going to cross this canal and we were going to do it in a way that was going to be a pain in the ass. But he wanted to minimize our footprint because we were at the edge of this field and this crossing where there was likely to be something. We just didn't know where.
It was a choke point.
Yeah, exactly right. And one of our Afghan partners didn't get that message, or was either just too lazy, or he just wanted to cross the easy way. And sure enough, found that IED. Found it the hard way, I guess. And he ended up being, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 feet away from me. So I was just turning around to tell everybody to kind of hold up. So he was kind of 3 or 4 feet behind me and to my right. And so the blast goes off, and, kind of in the movies where it's like, there's like ringing, like everything gets quiet and there's ringing. Mm-hmm. I didn't experience that. It wasn't like that at all. In fact, it was so quick that there was no noise whatsoever. There was no time to hear anything. It was just quiet. And it was just sort of like,
not to interrupt you, but did you I know you didn't hear anything. Did you see movement and then out? Did you see nothing?
You don't even see anything. It was like I was walking just walking on patrol. And then it went from that to laying on the ground in just sheer pain. It was just that quick. It was so quick. There was no intermediate sort of anything. But the weird thing is, and so, I had taken shrapnel to my face and head, and, there was, of course, the Afghan, him and another Afghan partner that was with him were killed. And then, unfortunately, another good friend of mine, Leopold Damas, was killed in that blast. And it's kind of weird because it was so fast, but I knew exactly what had happened. Like it's really strange to think about. Like I knew what had happened. I went from, it's like a video skipped. It's like I went from one scene to the next, but I knew exactly what had happened. I remember it's just kind of bits and pieces. It's flashy, it's not, I don't remember it perfectly clearly. It was still dark out. But I remember just being crazy thirsty. My helmet was broken. It had broken, kind of torn my helmet off my head. It destroyed a lot of my gear, my rifle, all kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And I just sort of laid there until an Army Blackhawk showed up. And I remember hearing the Army Blackhawk coming in, and I just remember being so happy that I was going home. Yeah. Just being really fucking happy I was going home. I had no idea. So, I had ended up, I didn't know it at the time, but I ended up suffering very severe damage to my right eye. Mm-hmm. I still had an eye, but the actual eyeball itself had been deeply cut, and there's a nerve that actually transmits the data from your eyeball to your brain.
Yep.
That's called the optic nerve. Mm-hmm. And that optic nerve was actually severed. And all the bones in my eye socket and like cheekbone and all that was all shattered and sort of caved in. And I also had a couple fractures kind of more on my head, my skull, and some brain bleeding. But I didn't know this obviously at the time.
Right.
So I'm medevaced out. I wake up here and there. I was pretty quickly put into a medically induced coma, but briefly woke up in a couple different hospitals somewhere in Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. Briefly woke up on the flight to Germany. Briefly woke up on the flight back home to DC. And that. I was in DC for the next, I was there till September of 2010. So about a year.
Yeah.
That's where I learned that they were going to have to, what they call it enucleation, but they take your eyeball out essentially is what happens. They rebuilt my face and skull. They did a 3D print of the left side of my face, all the bones over here, and implanted it.
What?
It's pretty neat. In fact, they made a 3D model of my skull and showed it to me. Let me hold it. It's pretty cool. Yeah,
that's incredible.
And so I spent, a lot of time recovering there. And so that I wanted to get through all of that before talking about life lessons, because it's really hard for me to talk about life lessons without that context.
I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing that, man. I know it might have been kind of different to get through it and recall it, but I do appreciate that for you sharing. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's no worries, I guess. But I've been working on my storytelling skills. I'm not very good yet.
You're doing good. You're doing fine. Keep it going.
Honing them, future. So, one thing that I think is really important that I think sometimes people struggle with are resiliency and the stories they tell themselves. And what I mean is that and veterans sometimes fall victim to this. People start telling them stories. All the knowledge we have is just, is narrative based. That's how we make sense of the world. We have an introduction, a sort of a middle and an end. That's kind of how the world works. So all of our knowledge is narrative based. It's all, a sort of a story about something. And that includes knowledge of ourselves and of where we've been and where we're going and our beliefs about ourselves and what we're capable of and all sorts of things. That's all narrative based. But strictly speaking, I don't think those narratives are necessarily objectively true, right? They're close approximations, and some are truer than others. But a lot of the stories that and this applies many times to veterans, the people tell themselves, handicap themselves hardcore, and in particular, they handicap their resiliency. I've met a lot of wounded guys in the hospital, through the Wounded Warrior Battalion. And for everyone that comes out and is just like a miracle, and you look at this guy and you're like, oh my God, like, how's this guy doing what he's doing? There's another one where you look at him and you're like, what is up with this guy? Why can't he just pull his head out of his ass and just, suck it up and get going? Which isn't to say that, that I lack absolute empathy for these people or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I think a lot of guys sometimes fall victim to telling themselves a story that's doing them no favors. And that's the sort of proverbial broken veteran story that they've been taken advantage of, or maybe they're, the government somehow screwed them, which happens a lot.
Right.
It's sort of par for the course, I guess, with military service. But that's not the problem. The problem is that they drag that out forever, and they never grow past age 20, 19, 20, 21, 22. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And you these guys when you meet them because they sort of act and talk like they're a 19 or 20-year-old, and you're like, come on, man, we're in our 30s now, like, you gotta, I know some shit was unfair, or I know that you suffered this injury or had this terrible experience. That is humans' fate everywhere across the world and across time. The shit sucks. It is our destiny is to suffer, but you don't have to limit yourself to just enforcing that or embracing that and just wallowing for the rest of your life.
Kind of floundering around trying to.
And it's not that they're weak or lazy, or it's not that. It's just they're operating on a bad narrative. And when I start talking about narratives in this sense, it's really abstract, right? It's not like I'm talking about something super concrete and that you can reach down and touch. We're talking about a story, something that humans kind of just make up. And so it's really easy for those things to kind of just go unnoticed. Like, there's a lot of just basic assumptions that you and I carry throughout the day that we don't ever question, because it would be really difficult to sit there and analyze every single assumption you carry every day, everywhere, all the time. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make any sense. It would be a drain. You'd never get anything done. But some of these stories that guys tell themselves are just, in particular, I'm just going to lump them all together to make this easy. I'm going to call it and which, by the way, this is a story, but I'm calling it the broken veteran story. I think that is harming veterans to a very large degree. And I think part of it is probably due to very well-intentioned and well-meaning people who want to help. And veterans, sometimes veterans find themselves in a position where that story just gets enforced and it never questioned, and they're just operating on it. And it's not that it's not that I lack empathy for these vets or anything like that. And it's not vets. It's not just vets, I should say. You see this across society. Various different people, have the same sort of issue, but I think it's unfair. I really wish that at some point someone would come out, and especially from the veteran community, to make it more sort of veritable, I guess.
Mhm.
Someone from the veteran community just stand up and say, look, guys, our grandfathers were on the beaches of Normandy. They did just fine. You know what I mean? They came back and they conquered. They built giant corporations. They raised beautiful families. They told awesome stories. They were awesome granddads. But that's not the message a lot of guys get. A lot of guys, kind of, I'm treading lightly here, as you can tell, because there is a line where you need to show some love, and you need to.
Yeah, but Eric, I don't think what you're saying is false, my friend. I think what you're saying is, it's kind of that tough love approach. I feel like that the Marine Corps gave us, right?
That's a good way. I love that. It's tough love. That's just like with your kid. Yeah, that's exact. Not to patronize them, but that's exactly what it is. It's tough love. It's like, I love you so much, brother, that I don't want to see you wallow in your own filth for the rest of your life. I want to see you succeed. I know you're capable of it. It's just the software you're operating on right now is not serving your best interest.
And let me add to that software comment, I think, and this is coming from strictly personal experience, that, for me, man, the last 10 years, I've been, in my professional life out here, it's like every 2 years, I feel like I was bouncing, trying to figure my footing, not giving up. And like, you just be like, damn, man, I was Marine Corps. And then, so I think it's a combination of that. And I also think it's a combination of these veterans not truly believing in themselves and going towards something that makes them passionate.
Yeah.
Passionate about the military, it was very easy to be passionate. You were kind of forced to be passionate about it. And so if you had any inkling that you liked it, it was easy to like it because you were forced to do it.
Yeah.
So now you're out here in the civilian world and you don't have that person kicking you in the ass to get going, right? You don't have the confidence anymore of being a United States Marine, right? And now you're out here fending for yourself and you're like, well, shit, I have to do this or what society tells me. But they don't ever stop and be like, you know what, man, I'm going against the grain.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what entrepreneurs do.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. It's almost like there's, if there's an infinite number of choices, what choice do you make? And
you can't pick. It's hard. It's like, I can't really do anything. And sometimes too many choices, especially for veterans, like an idle mind is dangerous, right?
Oh, you're absolutely right. Yeah. And that's actually a really good point, because keeping yourself productive and busy. I mean, number one, you got to find an interest and sort of stick with it, but you really got to stick with it when it sucks. There's a lot of research. There's two areas of research I want to talk about really quickly.
Go ahead.
There's a lot of research from psychology that suggests the more painful something is, some sort of objective or goal is, the more pain in the ass it is to achieve that, the more you appreciate it. That's a very long established sort of principle coming out of psychology. So one of the reasons guys from the Marine Corps are so proud of their service, right, is because it's a pain in the ass to become a Marine. It's not like, it sucks, right? A lot of it sucks. And we're very proud of it. And we wouldn't be very proud of it if it was just like you signed a waiver and made a deposit or something like that. Like, nobody's proud of that. Right. People are proud of having done things that sucked. And so that's one part, right? If it sucks and it's hard to achieve, the more you're going to value it. There's another aspect to this, and it has to do with the number of choices you have. And there's this field, it's sort of new. It's called Neuro Economics, and basically it's how the brain and affects economic choices, or why people behave the way they behave in an economic sense. And there's research with monkeys. They do this research with monkeys that they can show that the more choices you give a monkey, the less satisfied they end up being with whatever choice they make.
Unreal.
And the way the guy, this particular, I'm totally blanking on the author's name, it's been a while, but The way he likened this is, imagine if everything was worth $1.
Okay.
And you can choose from anything. Well, if you choose one thing, and say there's 10 things, if you choose one thing, you're basically, what you're doing is you're dividing that its value to you is it's being divided by those 10 things. So you're basically holding in your mind that you had 9 other potential choices. So 1 over 10, it's 10%, we'll say, is how valuable that was to you. Whereas if you had 2 choices and you pick the one thing, you're going to be pretty sure that you pick the better of the 2. There's only 2 choices, and it's not, you just pick one that's you like better. Whereas if you had 10 choices, there's going to be a lot of very close ties. Then you have a 50%. That's a higher score. So his analogy was, is the more choices you have, the bigger that denominator gets, the less you're going to value whatever you end up with. And I think that's very important when it comes to your career and your interests. And when you get out of the military, Marine Corps, whatever, there's no one kicking you in the ass, just as you said, telling you what you're going to do in the morning, what you're going to do in the afternoon and the evening, and what time you're going to get off. And none of that happens. It's you, and your choices explode. And that's a recipe for disaster. It can be, particularly for 22, 23-year-olds.
Yeah.
But from the ashes, there's some sort of parable in there. Some from the ashes grows something awesome, I guess, something like that.
It's incredible. It's and it's so true, is that when you get out, you think of all these possibilities, and you can literally do anything, and then you pick one choice, and you're constantly in the back of your mind like, oh, I could have done this. I would have, should have, and you what if a situation to death. And as Marines, like, you can what if anything to death. You just got to train. What kind
of music do you like? Just tell me what kind of music you like.
I like all sorts of music. I really am a fan of.
That's a very safe answer, I guess. I'll tell you that I really like blues rock.
Blues rock. I love blues music.
Yeah. Okay. So blues in general, I love, but I also like sort of blues garage rock, like White Stripes from like the early 2000s.
Okay.
Jack White.
I'm writing this down right now, so I'm gonna go vibe out.
Yeah. So Jack White, he's the guitarist of the White Stripes, and he's doing his own thing. But he had this awesome interview I listened to a while ago, where he talked about this exact thing. It was totally different context, and he was talking about his creative process of writing songs, because he writes these awesome, simple, just badass songs. And so they were talking about his creative process, and he used to upholster furniture when he was, a young man, before he was famous. That's what his job was. He reupholstered furniture. So, fix his furniture, reupholster it. And he had this specific memory of reupholstering a couch, and he took this like nail gun type thing that you use to attach leather to a piece of furniture. And there was 3 holes that you punched into the back of this couch to hold this leather on. And he was sitting there looking at this couch, and it's got brand new leather on it, and he just punched the three holes, and it's fixed onto the couch now. And he was thinking 3 is the exact minimal amount of adhesion, I guess. The minimal number of points that you need to just hold this thing on there and do its purpose. And from that, with his crazy creative mind, he thought to himself, to really do something beautiful and cool, you need to limit. You need to, just like you only can have 3 punch holes. You could punch as many holes as you want to the back of that couch and make it super secure, and maybe even do cool design. But really, if you just do the bare minimum, if you just box yourself in, this is the way he said it. If you box yourself in, then you kind of define the playing field for the creative process to flow. And so translating, that's his creative process. Translating that to the real world, what we do every day, what we're talking about, our careers and stuff. Yeah. If you find a way to box yourself in, which our society is, we it's like, that sounds awful. Like, why would you, we're all about freedom and independence and doing what you want on any given day. But if you box yourself in, if you set limits and define a playing field, you're going to do so much more. The idea is, I'm not saying this with any sort of authority,
Right.
but it makes sense to me. You're going to be able to do so much more, because if there's not an infinite number of directions you can go, if there's only so many directions you go, you're going to choose a road and you're going to go down it. You're going to get a lot further down that road than if you could turn off at any point and start going down another road.
Ladders, yeah.
I always thought that was brilliant. I thought that was really brilliant. And so this ties back into the choices and being overwhelmed and how much things suck. If you box yourself in and particularly stick with things when they absolutely suck, that's when you shine, man. That's when you start to find your purpose. I didn't fall in love. Well, I would claim otherwise, but at the time I would claim otherwise, but I don't think I truly fell in love with investments and financial planning until I had to learn about all kinds of shit that I didn't care about, like stuff that I thought was a waste of my time to sit here learning. It's just old, outdated stuff that you have to learn in college, but that stuff makes me appreciate it so much more now. It limited what I could do at that time. And I sat down, and now looking back, it's like, you know what? I must have sat there and persevered through that for some sort of reason. And our brains being the storytelling machines that they are, you're going to tell yourself a story that convinces you you did it because this is your passion. This is what you love. And you know what? It's not so hard to just take that story and run with it. Whether it's true or not doesn't really matter. It's just run with it, man. It's serving you a good purpose. And so kind of just tidying this whole digression up a little bit. I think the biggest lesson for me was resilience. If I could just sum it up to one single word, it was resilience. It was the pursuit of pain. You know what I mean? It's doing the hard stuff, and not complaining about it, and just finding circumstances where the odds are stacked against you, and telling yourself, coming up with something, telling yourself some sort of story that'll get your ass going in the right direction. To a better place. I think that's the biggest lesson that I took from my time in the Marine Corps, my relatively short single deployment, and the time in the hospital and all of that.
It's crazy to think that the way you just said that, your single deployment and your one trip to the hospital, and that single deployment and that one trip has changed your life as you knew it forever. Not only obviously physically, but what a lot of people don't see and can't see is the emotional factors and the mental factors of and not saying that you're not in a bad spot, but where you had to come from. It's easy to sit here and look at you and be like, oh, he's put together, he's motivated, he's put together, but that, I'm sure at some point in your journey that wasn't always the case.
It's I follow this guy in the financial planning industry. His name's Michael Kitces, and he always talks about the iceberg illusion. Are you familiar with the iceberg illusion?
I am.
Where like people are only presenting the best, most coolest. You're only seeing their best side anywhere, and even if that's not what they're consciously choosing to show you, that's what gets shown, because that's what people want to see. Nobody wants to see underneath the sea line all the failures and all the fuck ups and all the whatever. I got a really deep iceberg, man. I'm not gonna lie, but as much as I love hearing you say that you perceive me in that way, or that others might perceive me in that way, people being people, we're always going to look inward and be like, yeah, but come on, man, you know who the fuck you are. You're just an asshole like everybody else. And the same goes for me. I'm not special or anything like that.
Guilty.
Yeah.
I really do appreciate you really going in depth on that. And that was, and I never really, we're just going to go backwards real quick. I wanted to tell you too, like when we obviously talked the other night, and I told you straight, like I wasn't necessarily our agenda to go over what we went over this evening, but I'm happy you shared it, man, because the short time that we got to serve together, and, you know, shoot artillery together, like we were the shit hot battery.
Yeah.
FOs, we had the best gun line, we had best everything, right? And so
Yeah.
that, you know, when we found out you guys were getting like chopped over coming from the gun side, I was like, oh shit, you know, like knowing we were going to go to country eventually, and like, but we just lost our best FOs. In the back of my mind, I was like, well, we're not going to shoot artillery. So what happened was, when all that happened, man, I was a little confused. So when you know, towards the end of our deployment, when you got hit in August, like, dude, that hit close to home for a lot of us that like knew you but didn't get that chance to necessarily, because guns in headquarters, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and I wish I had that opportunity with you and Romeo Battery, because we all meshed together and made 3 platoons because our mission changed, you know. So it was interesting that I got to spend all my time with headquarters guys, you know, and guns got to spend vice versa, and it was really interesting. So I just wanted you to know, dude, I appreciate you sharing that story, because it's the first time I heard it. I would never ask. But I want you to know, man, that day that it happened, you had a lot of warriors ready to freaking just do anything they can do. It hit close to home for us, you know, because we knew you, we cared for you, and there was nothing. We felt helpless. We couldn't do anything. So thanks for sharing that, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah, likewise, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. So I know I'm just gonna tie this up a little bit, but man, let me ask you this, brother. Let's and I'm the financial stuff. We're gonna get into in a later date. I really wanna.
Yeah, we missed that.
Oh, dude, we didn't miss anything. This was exactly the way it was supposed to be, and I had a great conversation with you, and I appreciate it. I really do. It's just brothers and humans. I appreciate it. But let me ask you, man. Let me say so. Let's take it back to that August. You're laying there and you're on the ground and you're hurt. And if someone would have said the first time you woke up and kind of realized what happened, and you're trying to you're starting to get better in your recovery, say, listen, man, 10 plus years from now, you're going to be the owner of you investment advisory group. You're going to have a family, and you're going to have a very good head on your shoulders. What would you say?
That dude, I don't even know if I could process that. That was not on my radar. I mean, you got to understand, I was a bad student, man. Like, it wasn't because I was dumb or nobody is. It's not like that. It was like, I just didn't care. You know, it was in high school. It was just what it was. And I had a lot of growing up to do. I was 20 when I was laying on the ground there in Afghanistan. And there was a lot of, mistakes I made that kind of led me to that career, sort of directly.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I don't. It would have been unfathomable for me, even several years later. It would have been very, very hard for me to fathom something like that.
Well, you're doing it, brother. You're doing
it. Yeah, it is. I am. It's great, and it's been a fun journey, and that's a challenge, every day. But I'm always learning. But I think that's how I ended up here, is because I just sort of I didn't have any sort of superior skill or anything like that, or intelligence or anything. I just sort of kept at it for a long, long, long time. And yeah. So yeah, we got my independent advisory firm up and running here. It's going into my 5th year. Well, I've been an advisor for 7, going on 8 years. My firm is about 5 years old. 5 years in February.
Congratulations, man. That's a huge feat in itself. I know they say the average company within the first 5 years is going to fail. So I guess.
Well, I think we've made it past that. I think I'm going to make it 5 years. I can say that.
Good,
so.
Dude, that's a huge accomplishment. Working for yourself is such a great blessing. To have the confidence and to make it happen, man. And I did it for a couple years before COVID hit, and I loved it. And it was something that I will get back to eventually here. But dude, that's great. I'm very, very happy that you shared all that. I'm happy that you are where you are, man. And I can't appreciate it enough for you coming on tonight. And again, we'll get to the financial stuff. I'll shoot you off an email, and maybe we'll put something together
we should do it. Yeah. I'm thinking, this was great. And I think Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying good. I'm glad you enjoyed your time here.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. This was really good. I think we circled some really good topics though. You know, there's only so much you can say without people's eyes glazing over in
And this,
finance.
exactly. And then we tell this is great too, man. And it's an open conversation, right? Like we have our questions. This is what it's supposed to be, and we provided value tonight. I know that for sure. You provided value to me. You provided value to everyone that stuck around and watched us tonight. And you're going to provide value for people that decide to watch it later, because it's automatically uploaded to the YouTubes and the Twitters and all that. So it's out there, man.
Hell yeah. Well, and likewise, dude, you're an inspiration doing what you're doing, man. This is awesome. This is really good stuff you got going on. I'm gonna have to tailor the audience that I expose this to, because I use some colorful language. I think I want all my clients listening to it, but
yeah, right. Or sometimes if you gotta get some of the clients to appreciate who you are, send them the link and say
this is authentically me. Yeah.
It's funny. I'll leave you with this. My buddy told me the day I was going through something like this, and he goes, "You know what you need to do, Turner?" He goes, "You need to walk into the room when it's quiet." He goes, "You just flip a coin, let the coin hit the deck, ding, 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 ding. And everyone's gonna look like, what the hell are you doing?" He said, "You've seen one side of the coin. You've seen one side of the coin. Let's get our shit together, okay? So you don't have to see the other side of the coin. Pick the coin up, put it in your pocket, have a good day. You just walk out." So if you ever have a client that's, giving you a little hard time, just flip a coin in front of them. Tell them, "Listen, man, you've seen one side. Don't let me show the other."
What is the takeaway from that? I'm confused. That's
the takeaway is it's a little bit of a shot across the bow for aggression to people, but
it sounds like it. I try rule number one in financial advice is not to shoot across the bow of your client or prospective client.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, we'd have to work on me being an advisor for sure. And that's one thing I have a little rough around the edges in the corporate world, but we'll have to.
Yeah, for sure, man. We'll get you trained up on the next episode or the next show that you have me on. We'll have Andrew becomes a financial advisor episode.
Listen, man, if you can listen, I just told a story right before you got on, and it's been 15 years I've been in debt. I just got out of debt 2 months ago.
Hell yeah.
I have no credit card debt, zero credit card debt. I just got a car, and that's it. Every other day bills. So like it took me almost my entire adult life to get my shit together, So like when I was thinking about, like, dude, what can I provide value? Damn, I'm talking to Goodge. We're going to talk money.
Yeah. I hope. Are you gonna have to? So that was live. You're probably gonna have to redo all that. I don't that because we didn't talk about any money, did we?
No, it's okay though, man. I talked before you had come on, so I kind of explained to everybody where my idea was, like why I wanted you to come on, like why I thought of you.
Yeah, that's awesome though. I'm glad to hear that, man. That's really inspiring. That's a big trap for a lot of vets, dude. They
$35,000 off.
Yeah,
I committed 3 years ago to go in cash. I didn't listen to Dave Ramsey. Everyone thinks I did. I didn't. Although my dad does listen to him and he gave me some advice, but I just cut the cards up. I went straight cash, dude. I just stopped.
That's awesome.
Everything, and so I'm finally like, I'm able to spend money now, and it's cool. But I'm also ready to like start investing and like looking for the future. So hence also why I wanted you on, so I can learn. But
kudos to you, man. That's good shit.
Yeah, we'll also be talking about that down the line too, brother. So I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for sharing everything tonight.
Heck yeah, man. It was really good being on. Thanks for having me.
Dude, you always have an open door, brother. Anytime you want to come on, whether it's just something to bitch about or something to talk about, or you learned something and you thought it was interesting, or you just need a vent. This is what our platform is for, and you're always welcome. Open door policy, brother.
Cool. What are you doing tomorrow?
I'm here. We actually we were my girlfriend and I were about to go to we were going to go to a festival. Dave Matthews, Sublime, Alicia Key, not Alicia, Alanis Morissette, OAR, dude. Like
that's awesome. My wife made fun of me because I didn't know who Alanis Morissette was. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know people.
We'll save that one for another episode too, because how the hell you not know who Alanis is, man?
Well, I guess I do now, but she thought I was. I mean, I heard her songs. I just don't know the person. That's really cool, man.
Well, anyways, our concert or festival got canceled because of this weather in Ocean City. We were going to go to the beach for 3 days, and we had a nice hotel. It was going to be great, but they canceled everything. So we're hunkered in for the weekend, so we'll be here. But I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this has been good, man. I really appreciate you having me on. Until next time, sir.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, this is our good friend, Erik Goode, everybody. Hell, we made it. We did it. My goodness. Episode 40, what was it, 41? Yeah, 41. We did it. Erik Goode, United States Marine Corps veteran, owner and operator of uVest Advisory Group. What a hell of a story. I know we didn't get into the meat and potatoes of what I had told you we were going to, but nonetheless, it was a great episode. I encourage everyone to go back, fast forward through all my BS and get to the point where Erik comes on, because that's when it gets really, really good. It looked like we had Matt on to do some saved rounds, but he looks like he hopped off. So again, I appreciate everybody sticking it out with me for this hour and a half. It has been fun. It's been real, and I appreciate everybody. I hope everyone took something from tonight, and let's just be thankful for where we are and how we are at this very moment, because that's all we need. And so thanks again, everybody, for watching Disarranged Talk Show. My name is Andrew, and remember, a healthy network is a strong network. Take care, everybody. We will talk to you.
Thank you for joining us. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.